Hello everyone. In this lecture, we will cover two important sections. Two important sections from IPC. Section 317, Section 317 and Section 318. Section 318. So, Section 317 and Section 318. See, perhaps we have heard so many stories like this, that in a fair a child got lost, a child got separated from his or her parents. As per this section 317, a child cannot be lost from his or her parents. The child or the children cannot be forgotten by the parents, by the guardians, if the child is below the age of 12 years. 12 years or below 12 years. Then if that child get lost or separated from his or her parents, that is mother, father, or other legal guardian, caretaker, etc., any person with whom that child is present, if such a child below the age of 12 years is abandoned, left alone anywhere where there is a life threat for the child, or maybe the child may get exposed where some sort of danger may come to the child. Here in this regard, to leave or abandon the child, forgetting the child itself is punishable under this section. That is section 317. Afterwards, it cannot be said like this, that the child got lost by itself in the fair and so on. Such excuses will not be entertained. So, see, this section 317 of IPC, the heading of it, it says exposure and abandonment of child. Exposure and abandonment of child under 12 years. Under 12 years by parent or person having care of it. By parent or person having care of it. It says, whoever being the father or mother of a child under the age of 12 years or having the care of such child shall expose or leave such child in any place with the intention, underline, with the intention of wholly abandoning such child, shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 7 years, or with fine, or with both. And there is one explanation. This section is not intended to prevent the trial of the offender for murder or culpable homicide, as the case may be, if the child die in consequence of the exposure. So I am repeating this again. The explanation. The explanation says this section is not intended to prevent the trial of the offender for murder or culpable homicide, as the case may be, if the child die in consequence of the exposure. See, here the person had the intention to leave the child. Like, for example, suppose a person is having a daughter child, okay, a girl child, below the age of 12. Let's say the father of the daughter of the girl child wanted a son. Such things happen in our society, unfortunately. Let's say the father was not satisfied. He was not satisfied with the birth of the girl child. Suppose that father left the girl child somewhere. Where there was an immense possibility of life threat to the girl child. Or she could get exposed to other dangers also. So many dangers might be there. Like, for example, child molestation, trafficking, etc. Then the father will get here punishment, imprisonment of 7 years with fine. That is the reason. That is the reason a child under the age of 12 must be given utmost care, affection and protection, because they need care, extra care and protection. Because if such children are forgotten, are left somewhere intentionally or maybe non-intentionally, because excuses will not be entertained here. Here no excuses will be entertained. A such person will face 7 years of imprisonment. But let's say a person, suppose the father abandoned the child somewhere intentionally. Now suppose some people there found the child, or maybe the mother while searching the child found the child. Here it will not be like this, that this section will not be applicable here. It will not be like this. The father here will get 7 years of imprisonment. Here, leaving the child itself is a legal offence. Leaving the child itself is a legal offence as per this section, as per section 317. Because the child could die or could face other life threats. Anything might happen to the child. And if nothing happened to the child, after, let's say, finding her by some people, or let's say the police found the child, then also the person here will get the punishment of 7 years, because leaving the child here itself is the crime. Here we are talking about leaving the child. Leaving or abandoning the child itself is the crime here and punishable under this section. But see, there are two things which are coming under it. Two important aspects. See, if the child dies, either it will be murder or it will be regarded to be a culpable homicide. See, if someone puts the child, let's say, on the railway track, what might happen to the child here? The child may die there, or maybe the child has been put on the road. The car may or the cars may run over the child, and the child may die there. Here the person will be convicted with the charge of murder, and this section then will not become hindrance in punishing the culprit with the charge of murder. Then that person who has been charged with murder will not get 7 years of punishment under section 317, but that person will either get the punishment of life imprisonment or capital punishment under section 302 of IPC if that child is murdered, because that child was kept there intentionally to be killed. There is another thing known as culpable homicide. Like, let's say if that person kept that child there, thinking like this, that the child will be taken by someone will take care of the child. Okay, like, let's say the child has been kept on footpath, not on the road, or the child, let's say, has been kept on the bench of a park. The intention was that somebody would take the child and will take care of the child. But let's say, despite keeping the child on the safe places like bench of the park or footpath, etc., the child somehow came on the road and got killed by a car, by a running car. So here the person has committed what? Culpable homicide. And the culprit will be given the punishment of culpable homicide here. Either 10 years of punishment or life imprisonment. Either 10 years of punishment or life imprisonment. Here the culprit will not be given the punishment of 7 years of imprisonment. This section is applicable on such parents or guardians, caretakers of the child, etc., who abandons the child. And the child also gets saved. That child did not face any such death. To some extent, maybe the child got injured. But the child got saved. But see, leaving the child itself is a crime. under section 317. But there was one case. There was one case where a woman left her child. There was one case where what happened? There was a woman who left her child, giving the child to another lady who was blind. The other lady was blind. The child was between the age of 6 to 7 years. 6 to 7 years. So, when that woman got caught, that woman did not get punishment under this section. Why? Because the child was given to someone, not left alone. If someone who is a parent, guardian of the child gives the child to persons like, let's say, uncle, auntie, other relatives, friends, etc., trustworthy persons, then this section cannot be applied against such person. Because the person gave his or her child to someone, entrusting responsibility upon that person to whom the child was given. Because sometimes it might happen. The parents give their child to or children to someone, and let's say the parents could not come in the right time due to some problems, like maybe the parent or the parents got admitted in the hospital, and so many reasons might be there. But we may argue this, the punishment under this section 317 should be applicable. We may argue this. We may argue this, the punishment under this section 317 should be applicable here. It should be applicable here also. But there is a big but here. But this section, section 317, this section will not be applicable upon such parents. Because the parents or the parent has given the child to someone with responsibility. The parent has given the child to someone who may be anyone, whether a blind person or able-bodied person, trustworthy person, etc. The child was not left to die. This section will be applicable when the child is left abandoned to die with such an ill intention that whatever may happen with the child, that person doesn't care. Like suppose the daughter, the girl child was kept or abandoned in a forest where she could get exposure to various life threats like killing by wild animals and so on. Here this child was not given to someone with responsibility. For abandoning the child like this, the culprit will get punishment of how many years? Of 7 years. Even if the child is found alive, then also 7 years imprisonment punishment will be given to the culprit. That is the reason children below the age of 12 years must be given protection. This is the main objective behind section 317 of IPC. Now see that as far as the classification of offence is concerned of section 317, it is punishment which is imprisonment for 7 years or fine or both. It is a cognizable offence, it is bailable, it is triable by magistrate of the first class, and it's a non-compoundable offence. Okay, and there are some ingredients of it also, some of the essential ingredients of section 317, like child to be under 12 years. I will give it in the description box. The essential ingredients of section 317. Child to be under 12 years. This is the first point. The second point, responsibility is on both father and mother or person having care of such child. Then exposing or living with intention to abandon. This is the third point, exposing or living with intention to abandon. Then the next ingredient of it is death of child as a consequence of the exposure. Okay, so these are the different essential ingredients of section 317. Now see, as far as this responsibility is on both father and mother or person having care of such child is concerned, as far as this particular ingredient is concerned, section 317 also places a similar duty and liability as imposed upon the parents of the child on the person made responsible for the care and protection of the child. And hence, it was highlighted in a case, Emperor versus Blanche Constant Cripps, that daycare centers, crashes, orphanages, etc. are all included under it. Okay, it was held in that particular case. 1916 decision, Emperor versus Blanche Constant Cripps and another, September 7, 1916. Then the next section. The next section is section 318. 318. Okay. Now see, 318, the heading of 318, section 318 is concealment of birth. Concealment of birth by secret disposal of dead body. Concealment of birth by secret disposal of dead body. It says, section 318 says, whoever by secretly burying or otherwise disposing of the dead body of a child, whether such child die before or after or during its birth, intentionally conceals or endeavours to conceal the birth of such child, shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 2 years or with fine or both. And the classification of offence, punishment, it is imprisonment for 2 years or fine or both. It is a cognizable offence, bailable, and it is triable by magistrate of the first class, and it is a non-compoundable offence. See, the next section is section 318. See, many times it happen like this. When a child is born, that child is considered to be illegitimate child. It also happens like this, that the parents did not want to have that child, but the baby came in the womb of the mother. It may be also like this, that if a child is born, then the persons who are responsible for the birth of the child may think that if the society will know about the birth of the child, they may face quote unquote social shame. So many similar other issues might be the causes of such crimes. So here what happens? After the birth of the child, the parents or the persons responsible for conceiving the child might want to bury the child for keeping the matter secret from the, let's say, from the society. Like a child during the time of birth may die, or maybe when the child was in the womb died, which means the situations may be like this. Like when the child was in the womb, that child died, or after the birth of the child died, or during the time of birth, the child died. So the child died here, and the dead body of the child, without telling this to anyone, keeping it completely secret, the culprit, let's say, wants to hide this. Like suppose without taking the pregnant woman to the hospital, the delivery was done at home, and due to, let's say, unscientific the procedures, the child died during the time of birth. Without saying anything to anyone about the death of the child, let's say suppose the culprit buried the child. If a person does this, then that person will face 2 years of imprisonment or fine, or both will be rendered as punishment to the culprit. See, if someone does such a criminal act with the criminal intention that nobody should know about the death of the child, like many times the girl child is killed. by, let's say, through causing suffocation, then the child died. Then the child died, and the parents decided to bury the dead body of the child. Here, nobody knows how the child was born, how the child died, and so on. Nobody knows. No post-mortem took place, no investigation happened. If police knows about this, then the police will see whether the child has been killed after seeing the reports and investigation and so on. In hospital, many times it happens when a child dies in a hospital due to any reason. The police are called to look into the matter through investigation, through post-mortem, medical investigation and so on. Okay, whether the child has been killed intentionally or not, or whether any pill was given to the woman or not for the miscarriage death of the child. Many times it happens, unfortunately, when the girl child is born, the girl child is killed by parents, by family, and keeping such a crime secret from others, they go and bury the child somewhere. This is a crime, and for this 2 years punishment of imprisonment is there. Here, if the child dies, then it must be informed to others. Police will investigate, do the post-mortem. The police will be informed by the hospital that this child died, and the child due to such and such reason, everything must be informed to the police. The causes of the death of the child must be shown to the police, must be informed to the police. But if such thing doesn't happen, let's say no information is rendered to the police, no post-mortem has been conducted to know how the child died, what are the causes of the death of the child. If this information doesn't reach to any police personnel, or without saying the cause of death to anyone, not even revealing the death of the child to anyone, secretly hiding the matter from everyone, the child is buried. Because when a child dies due to any reason, the causes of the death of the child will be the investigation will be done through post-mortem, through other medical investigations. But if, let's say, suppose no such post-mortem happened, and the child died, let's say, through suffocation, or there may be other reasons also, or it may be like this: the child died in the womb during its birth. These things are very important to be investigated through post-mortem, etc. The dead child, let's say, has been buried secretly. If the matter is known by the police or by anyone, let's say someone got the information and later on informed the police, then for this the punishment will be imprisonment for 2 years, or fine, or both. Secondly, there can be bail here. But as this is a cognizable offence, without warrant, the police will arrest such person. So every child who died or not, whatever might be happening to that child, investigation by the police, it is immensely important. Thank you.